Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to James Purefoy. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday, James. The great James Purefoy, wonderful actor, appropriately from HBO's Rome, and we have two wines today from When in Rome. There's always a connection. Always a connection. James, I hope you're drinking something very nice. I suspect it will be red and full-bodied to suit your fruity, full-bodied voice. Happy birthday to James. Happy birthday to anybody who's having a birthday today. You will notice I am dressed slightly differently today, as are our wines. You get it? I dress differently. The wines are dressed differently. So a lot goes on. That was all of about 10 seconds of thinking I couldn't be bothered to change my shirt. There's no prize, but guess which film this shirt appears in. Not this actual one, but this design. So put your answer in the field below. What film is this from? It's a comedy. There you go. Slightly dated comedy. We are trying wines from boxes today, and we should be drinking them an awful lot more. Here's a stat. I mean, I want to dig into this a bit, but apparently, if all the wine in the United States that was drunk within a year of being bought came in a box, the equivalent, it would be the equivalent of taking 400,000 cars off the roads. This is the way forwards, and not just for environmental reasons. We'll explore a few of them in a bit. I'm going to tell you what I'm drinking first. We've got them from two different people today. These are boxed wines. Boxed wines, depends how you want to say it, that they might sort of challenge your assumptions in a way. Because all the wines today are craft wines from small independent producers. You're thinking it's sort of big mass brands. Absolutely not. I'm going to start with this. This is from the BIB Wine Company. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. It's a Wabi Sabi, Gruber Röschitz, Gruner Veltliner. Gruner Veltliner? Austria, 2019. This is the equivalent of £11 a bottle. So it's a £33, 2.25 litre box. Or it's actually slightly better value if you're a member of the BIB Wine Club, which the details will be below. It's £29.70, which actually is quite a good saving, that, isn't it? It's like £3.30. Let's have a try. It's a delicious... Now, it's this slightly peppery crunch. So yeah, Gruner Veltliner has this fragrant, slightly floral character to it. It's lovely citrus fruit, but it's this peppery bite which makes it so good with food. All of these are amazing to take outside. Now you're allowed with a couple of friends. Oh, juicy, mouth-watering, lovely, fresh. Actually, you know what it's a bit like? When you get sort of white peach, white flour. Always good tasting notes if you're never quite sure what to say, actually. White peach, white flour, white pepper. But those are some of the characters of Gruner Veltliner. That's delicious. Just at the back of your palate, you get this slightly peppery bite, and it's very characteristic. Let me tell you a little bit about the BIB Wine Company. It's 4 siblings and a master of wine. So I'm going to get these right, because I've got them on the list here. Ollie, hello Ollie. Ollie sent me these. That's very kind of you. Who used to navigate submarines and went to Afghanistan. 2 long periods without wine, where he had time to think long and hard about his future. My friend Andrew, he didn't navigate submarines. He was in charge of the sort of power units. And various of my friends, some of whose names I'm not allowed to use, went to Afghanistan. There's Justin, who you remember we had on the show before, because Justin is the domain of the bee. Here. Do you remember those ones? Actually, some weeks ago now. So that's Domain of the Bee. This is the Côte de Roussillon Viage. See, actually, I've had a couple of glasses of that. I just kept that one to one side, just for me. All the rest of the wine gave away. So Justin's Master of Wine. He's not a sibling. And apparently he insists that they call him the Master. I think Justin's allowed to, because he's got a very good sense of humour. Tom does operations and stuff. Becca does design and marketing. She's the older sister, and everybody's scared of her. And Alexander does digital wizardry, and there's some brilliant stuff online. So it's lovely. 2016, they sat around a kitchen table and decided, there's a picture of them all, decided that they were going to go and sell wine in boxes and sort of revolutionise the idea. It causes less waste, it's better for the environment, it causes less damage to your wallet. So we'll just dig into a couple of these bits whilst I just enjoy this. The reason why boxed wine is good. Some of you will come back and say, but isn't there a plastic bag inside it? The biggest challenge we face with wine is moving bottles around. They're heavy, they're cumbersome, they tend to smash, they're quite expensive, we're very wedded to them, but just moving them about is a substantial amount of the carbon emissions of a bottle of wine. In fact, I've got some of it. Packaging, generally, is about 42% of the carbon emissions of a bottle of wine. Moving that around, which is fundamentally mostly moving around the packaging as much as anything else, is about 20%. So almost 2/3 of the carbon emissions of a wine, principally in bottles, which is overwhelmingly how we tend to drink them, is just making the packaging and shifting it about the world. About half of it probably is just shifting packaging of some description, or making and shifting it. So why would we go and do it? We'll have a try of another wine as we explore these things in more detail. Now, this is from When in Rome. Happy birthday, James Purefoy, star of HBO's Rome. A Rosato from Italy. I'm going to tell you a little bit about this. This is actually not from Rome, it's from Venzia Giulia, produced by a company called Grappolo D'Oro. So all of these are made by small independent producers. They're not made in vast factories. This is $24.99 to $26.99. You can get this. I would go to Flavorly. It's probably the best place, flavorly.com. There are independent merchants who have it, and you can get it in Ocado, Waitrose, a couple of places like that. We tend to focus on the independents because we want to go and support those people, but we also want to support low-carbon drinking. Fruity. It has got a sort of rose scent to it. It's a lovely colour, this. This is going to be great stuff for breaking out and having a barbecue. And everybody quite likes rosé, don't they? I do. I can drink loads of it. But does it need to come in a bottle? Interestingly, this is better for a rosé than many of the bottles, because lots of the bottles are clear, so we can see the pink colour. The problem is, you're sort of killing it with kindness, because you end up with a thing called light strike. Clear glass bottles are not good for wines. It affects them inside. You can do experiments with light strike, which is why a lot of champagne producers get into terrible trouble. A lot of rosé champagne, which you've had in a clear glass bottle, doesn't actually taste how it should because it's been light struck. I won't go into the sort of science of it now. So having it in a box actually preserves the character of the thing. Strawberries. That's lovely. I don't know, it tastes sort of dry. I don't think it's off dry as such, but it's delicious. Oh, that's really very good. And now this is founded by Rob Mallin and Anthony Wolowich. Well, in fact, Rob Mallin is the founder. Anthony Wolowich is his commercial director. He does lots of chats with us. They're a lovely pair of guys. Kind of starting out in Bath, in street markets, doing stuff there. I think that was where it was. I think it was in Bath. And have a sort of mission to convert us across. Bear in mind, most of the wine we drink it, I mean, in some cases, some extraordinary proportion of the wine we drink within 24 hours of buying it. So we're, on the whole, vast, overwhelming majority, I mean, well over sort of 90% of wine we drink within the year. This is actually a better way of getting it to you and drinking it. It's more convenient. And here's my analogy, before we jump into these vast two wines. When did you take a pendulum clock on a picnic? The reason I ask is that the pendulum clock was invented about the same time as the wine bottle. However, we have progressed on from the pendulum clock. I've got a pendulum clock behind me. So we don't take a pendulum clock on a picnic, we take a watch. You look at your phone, something like that. So why would we take a 17th century invention on a picnic? The wine bottle is about the only 17th century invention we take on picnics. You know, when did you last split the bill in a restaurant using a slide rule? Also invented around the time of the wine bottle. You use a calculator on your phone to go and split the bill, unless you've got somebody who's really good at maths, who probably knows how to use a slide rule, because I have one, but I can't use it. We've sort of moved on. This is 20th century packaging. It was invented in the 20th century. Invented by, what's his name, Angove, wasn't it? He sort of converted it. It had been invented before in America, and it was adapted from the packs that we used to transport battery acid for car batteries. And then I can't remember, was it Thomas Angove? No, it was the guy from Angove's Wine. Anyway, he decided to turn it into a cask. And then there was another invention. There was a guy originally from Leicestershire who settled, and he worked for Penfolds, I think, and he invented the tap. It was an Australian invention. Anyway, cheers to Australians. Oh, that is very good. Right, what are we going to go and jump into next, now that I've sort of banged on about stuff? I adore this. Right, this is Karl May Pinot Noir from Germany. German Pinot Noir is a big thing now. We don't think of Germany as a red wine producing country. It makes phenomenally good Pinot Noir. Oh, it's gorgeous. And you know what? It'll stay gorgeous for 6 weeks. That's the amazing thing about these things, about these bits. You don't have to drink it all at once. You can just have a glass. Although there is more of it, you can actually drink it less frequently. You can just nip in, have a glass. I've had this before, and Mrs. F, Christina, and I, the other night, we just wanted a single glass of red, and I'd already opened this. I've had this open for about a week. I opened it virtually with Mini Driver. We were judging a crest competition. Yeah, the life is that weird. So I was judging a crest competition with Shapko Sandy and various other people. Who else? Danny Wallace and Mini Driver. I'm trying to think who else was there. Adam Kay got those brilliant books about being a doctor. Really, really good. Anyway, we were judging this crest competition, and I was having quite a glass of this about a week ago. Oh, it's good. Cherryish Pinot. So Germany makes really great Pinot Noir. Some of it's very grand style, but this is more in a fruity, cherryish, mid-weight, bright style. You can chill this. Brilliant with barbecues. Let me tell you a little bit about it. What does it say down here? I'm sure I've got a line about it. From Karl May Pinot Noir 2018. This is £41 for a box, or £13.67. Roughly, you can take at least £1 off the cost of a bottle of wine to turn it into one of these. So this is a 15-16 quid bottle of wine that you're getting for £13, actually slightly less if you're a BIB Wine Club member, because it's £36.90 to BIB Wine Club members. It's really good. This is so much more convenient for taking outside, going to barbecues. We're allowed barbecues now. We are allowed to go outside in modest groups. If you are going to go and do that, a box is so much better. Interestingly, we were asking Anthony about this the other day, and he has said, I've got the number here, he said sales have increased by about 59% in the UK, and people have become more sensitive to the idea of the environmental credentials of the packaging that they're having. People are thinking about it a little bit more. People are drinking roughly the same amount of wine as they ever did, but they've moved that from restaurants in the home. And one of the ways they've done it is moved to boxes, interestingly enough. And he reckons that the carbon dioxide footprint of bag-in-box is about 10 times less. Amazing. The deliciousness footprint is exactly the same, if not slightly better, pound for pound. That's so good. And I've got one more here. It's back to Wine in Rome. I'm loving this. I did pull some bits and pieces. Why do we buy bottles in 75 centilitres? Some people say it's because it's the lung capacity of a French glass bottle blower. That said, it was English glass bottle blowers who sort of invented the modern wine bottles. I don't believe that at all. Well, I mean, they'd have the same lung capacity, I guess. There's no huge difference in lung capacity between French glass blowers and British ones. But I have heard that that's a bit of a myth, but I don't know what is the lung capacity of somebody. Is it about 75 centilitres? I suppose you've blown a balloon, you can find out. Interestingly, if you think this is a sort of young person's trend, it's actually the other way around. On the whole, older people tend to go for these. And often because of the environmental credentials, younger people tend to go for bottles. So young people, it's going to sound awful, young people. No, but young people, go with a box. It is better for everybody, it's better value, it lasts longer. You don't drink it all at once. You really shouldn't drink it all at once. It's about 2.5 litres. But interestingly, it is older folk who tend to go for this. Right, let's lean over here. Press my tap. Oh, look at that. In Scandinavia, particularly in Sweden, most wine goes in a box. Go into Systembolaget, which is a sort of state-run state-run alcohol monopoly in Sweden. Boxes everywhere. A really smart wine is like Amarone in a box, and people think it's mad. And I came up with the thing. There's this concept of flyg scam or flight shame. And last year, Swedish flights dropped by about 5%. Swedish domestic air travel, it was double figures it dropped because people, particularly because of Greta Thunberg, were ashamed to fly. So flight shame became this concept, flyg scam. And I suggested, it was a rather smart conference actually, I said we should have flaska scam, bottle shame. Should you be ashamed of serving wine in bottles when actually it could come in a box? Those Swedes. Now, this is, I'm married to one, I'm allowed to say it. And I'm learning Swedish. I have this awful thing that I've realised. I'm learning Swedish using Duolingo. Great tool. So it's a slight deviation here. It's a brilliant tool, though, is Duolingo. So I'm learning that, and Babbel I use as well. But you have these league tables in Duolingo. And I was sort of fighting for the third spot. I have been fighting for the third spot in the Ruby League of Swedish learners. And I suddenly realised that the person I'm fighting with is a young child asylum seeker. I've sort of worked it out and in fact discovered. So there's me and this child who are both furiously fighting for the third spot, and I feel terrible every time I beat him. And there's this sort of gorgeous little picture of this little boy, and he's there looking sort of miffed. Anyway, every time I get the third spot, 2 minutes later I get an alert, your third spot has been lost. And he's gone and got it back from me again. But it's a sort of odd thing to be involved with, really. It's a furious fight for the third spot in Duolingo with an asylum seeker. But it's very common. Most people learning Swedish, apparently, on Duolingo are refugees who have settled in Sweden. And they're learning the language. Right, what do we have here? Back to the wine. Nero d'Avola, Sicilia. This is from Cantina San Antonio Sociale from Sicily. £24.99 against £26.99. Again, the same places, wine buyers, flavorly.com. Go there. Amazon independent merchants, Waitrose, Cardo, that sort of thing. This is chunky, fruity barbecue wine. It's got that damson fruit. It's rich, ripe, warm. I mean, we've got two reds from the opposite ends of Europe, really. This is about as north as Europe makes red, and this is about as south as Europe makes red. And so you get all the variations. Oh, it's good. Juicy. When I say sweet fruit, I don't mean sweet. I mean ripe. Mocha. Chocolate sort of notes in there. That's delicious. Quite low tannin. It is tannic, go really well with steaks and so on. More tannic than the Pinot Noir. But it does have a sort of, it's a mid-weight one. Oh, it's long. It's got a really long, sweet finish to it. It's sort of sitting there. It's a serious wine. It's beautifully fruity wine. But that's good. All of these are for drinking this year. They're not going to last very long. But that's the point. Most wines don't last very long. We drink them within the year. So why do we have them in bottles? Right, a couple of questions here, a couple of bits. Nick West. Oh, you're enjoying this show in lockdown with a new baby. Nick, many congratulations. Can we do an episode on natural wines? And you can recommend Iron and Rose in Shrewsbury. Oh, and Tanner's, of course. Well, of course, Tanner's, where my friend Julian works. They needed an episode too. We do, actually, I do have, because I've just got deliveries, we've got some Tanner's wines coming up. I thought we had some Tanner's wines. But maybe we've had odd bits and pieces. We'll go back. Iron and Rose, I don't know, so I must go and dig out. However, the Tanner's team, send us some wines and go and bung them on. I talk to Julian every day, but he's in furlough because he does the on-trade, so he's not able to send me any wines. But many congratulations. Go back and have a look at the wines. There's a couple of episodes earlier on, particularly Wine Freedom, natural wines there, and also Uncharted, those eps. Beautiful natural wines in there. Duncan Thorne, you're enjoying some organic wine, but you can't determine if it's because it's organic or that the winemaker takes more care in production. It's one of those questions we'll never answer. Certainly, to make organic wine, you need to be, if you like, more alert, more engaged, more mindful as a winemaker. You know, the net result is that you get better wine and the person is taking more care of their production. You know, there are some wines that are organic by default. So, you know, you get places like in Argentina, you just can't organic because you don't need to go and use any of the treatments because it's in the desert. Is that good because it's fundamentally organic, or is it good because it's made in a place that's a desert that doesn't have an awful lot of disease pressure? Hard to tell. It's a good question. And Wine Man, Hello, wine man. And it says, how about doing verticals, wine from different plots on the same estate, or biodynamics, or different styles of Prosecco, Cava, Champagne? That would be quite good. How extra dry in Prosecco doesn't mean dry at all, and how it's different in other countries. That is very good, actually. I've got quite a lot of fizz. We could do a sort of fizz one and dig into what some of those words mean, because it's absolutely true. It's a huge row about Prosecco, because Australians want to be able to call their Prosecco grape Prosecco. And Prosecco is a grape. The Italians only changed it to Glera a few years ago in an apparent bid to stop other people calling their Prosecco Prosecco. It's very complicated. And Patricia says, Patricia Applequist says, thanks for the playlist. We have the playlist. So go back to, was it the last one or two ones ago? You're not done with Shelter in Place, because I think you're in Canada, and you're a little bit frightened to go out. Well, you're not the only one, actually. I'm with you on that. And you cut, it's not because of COVID, it's because you cut your own hair and you're waiting it for... I was reading that thinking, oh, poor Patricia, she don't want to go out because of COVID. It's not. It's because she cut her own hair and she's got to wait for it to grow out. Who else has cut their own hair and just doesn't want this to end because it's too embarrassing because they've got a pudding bowl? You've been on a sparkling wine from Gruner and Rosé all day, probably to deal with the hair. You're listening to the Rolling Stones and the Dave Matthews Band when you're drinking. Probably not when you're cutting your hair. God, you don't want... This honky-tonk woman or something. What are you listening to? Hacking in. Dear me. Right. Well, happy birthday, James Purefoy. Go and visit BIB Wine Company when in Rome. Go and get some of these. They are the way forwards to go and drink these styles of wine. And look after yourselves. Stay at home. Listen to the playlists and join us again on Friday. Thank you very much indeed.